Hey, how you doing? It's Mr. Producer. Before firing up today's podcast, some good news for you. GIE Plus Expo is coming back October the 20th through the 22nd, and Brian looks forward to seeing you all there. Now, if you haven't registered yet, do so now and get 50% off the registration price with the promo code BRIAN. And of course, I'll have a link for you in the show description.
You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton here, hanging out with you guys in studio, and we actually have a great guest interview for you guys lined up. We have none other than Zach Wilde with Wilde Lawn Service out of Festus, Missouri. Zach, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
We're doing great, Brian. Thank you. Definitely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, guys, we're kicking it back into, creating some regular content for you guys Monday, Wednesday, Friday. A lot of you guys are going to be headed out the doors, if you're not already, to start doing those first mows of the season, your guys' spring cleanups, and get that fertilizer down. So one thing that I wanted to do on the show, and guilty pleasure here, was get some of you guys on the show. And, our first season, we had a lot of the big name folks, if you will, people that have large companies and maybe some of the larger YouTube personalities, and let's get this podcast off the ground and up to speed. But I quite honestly, a lot of the feedback I get is that people really relate to you guys, just a regular dude who's listening to the podcast. You got a business growing, and you're adding customers, and you're just regular relatable people, which we all are, but you guys know what I'm saying. And I actually did a coaching call with Zach here about a month or two ago. We just had a really good conversation. It was probably about 2 or 3 months ago, actually. And I said, Zach, I need to get you on the podcast in the spring. He said, sure. And so here we are. So Zach, why don't you give these guys maybe a quick minute or two intro to you and your background, and then we'll kind of go down the rabbit hole here a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So, like you said, my name's Zach Wilde. I own Wilde Lawn Service here in Festus, Missouri. We're probably 25 minutes south of St. Louis. So we're in the Midwest. I own Wilde Lawn Service. Is pretty much just me for the main part. Sometimes I have guys help out part-time. We're a mainly mowing company. We do a lot of mowing. We have about 50 full-time customers weekly. We do a lot of leaves, mulch, and a little bit of snow during the wintertime. We've been in business for 3 years now. Started in 2018 in July. So we're working on the second season full time now.
Awesome.
Just out here hustling.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, you actually have been, I guess, influenced the show more than you probably know, although I think you know what I'm referring to. We actually had a really good conversation, like I said, a couple months back, talking about the evolution of a lawn care trailer setup. And we just had a really good conversation for an hour on that coaching call. And I think that topic was, maybe 20 or 30 minutes of it. But I was like, you know what, this is a really good topic. And so I did an extra podcast episode a couple months back talking about when and how to upgrade your trailer, and kind of like those jumping blocks, those stepping stones about what to get, because the reality is that we don't have all the money in the world sometimes when we're just getting started to buy the truck, buy the trailer, and buy the mower and the bagger, right? Right. You actually inspired a whole episode, which was really fun. And I think I gave you credit in the episode, but if not, we'll make sure to plug it by the time we're done. But that's that amongst a couple other things I want to, just hear more from Zach on is his equipment, what's going on with his business these last few years, and what he's done with that advice since fall. And like you said, going into his third season, which is super exciting times. I mean, it's wide open for your brother, and it's going to be a crazy 2021. So here's what I love to do is before we go down the rabbit hole of hearing a little bit more from Zach, I'd love to kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, to bring you guys all these show updates and announcements. We have so much exciting things going on right now behind the scenes with Entrepreneur Academy and all the different companies and sponsors that we're working with. So without further ado, let's kick it over to the best producer in the biz, and we'll come right on back.
Oh, and let's not forget, together in the trades, we all focus so much on our business, and we have to remember why it is we're putting in the grueling hours. Our families and our marriages. If having a healthy marriage or even just discovering a few simple strategies for divorce-proofing your marriage is important to you, then highly consider attending this Waco, Texas event, June the 12th. All the details are in the notes or at Eventbrite, and when you're there, just search for Together in the Trades. Now, the Friday night before the event, that's June the 11th, there's a meetup at the Silos, and then the main event, Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Married couples that you know from our industry, like Sean and Savannah Spencer, Brian and Liz Fullerton, along with Caleb and Brittany Allman, are speaking. Plus, we're bringing in some heavy hitters, Brad and Tammy Miller with Tandem Marriage, also Bill and Joyce Harley with Marriage Builders. Learn about making decisions together, how to leave your career to work full-time with your spouse, being strong by yourself first, then stronger together, and so much more. So check out the Together in the Trades link in the program description. And guys, I can almost guarantee, listen to me, this is important. I can almost guarantee your wife will be super pleased that you took the initiative to do something to intentionally work on your marriage together. Ballard Innovative Products is a full line of gear for the lawn and landscape professional. From mower gear, safety gear, trailer racks, equipment securement, equipment servicing tools, aerators, mower blades, X-blades, aluminum baggers, and much more to make you efficient, effective, safe, and profitable in the field. Check out Ballard-Inc.com to help dominate and elevate your business. Ballard Innovative Products. With over 20 years of selling accessories and 30 years in the business, we're sure that we've got something you can't live without. We appreciate the support and look forward to serving you this season. Stay safe and keep grinding, friends. And don't forget to use Brian's 10 to save 10% at Ballard-Inc.com.
Once again, here is Brian.
All right, good deal, guys. Well, let's just jump right back into it. Zach, we're going back to you. You said this was your third season, or you're going into your third season here, which is really exciting. Before we, start talking about equipment and oogling over dump trailers and, lawnmowers and all that fun stuff, which we all have a guilty pleasure of doing. What's your background this last, 2, 5, 10 years? Did you do lawn and landscaping before this business, or what was your career path before?
So I was introduced to the lawn care business when I was about 18. I had some friends that were working in the lawn care industry at a company up north in St. Louis, and they were hiring, and they said, if you want to come work, we'll throw you on a weed eater, and it kind of just blossomed from there. I had always been interested in it. My dad had, cut the grass when I was younger, and I'd always beg him to be able to use the push mower and to weed eat and things like that. And then even further back than that, whenever I was like a toddler and such, I would, we lived in apartments. So we had a lawn care guy that came and did the grass with the, commercial equipment, and I would sit there and watch him and just, I loved it. So,
yeah, that's awesome, man. Now, what were you working? I was just going to say, what were you working for a job after that?
So I did lawn care for probably 6 years, I want to say. And then it was in between companies. I'd worked for a couple different companies. I actually worked for Brickman right as soon as they were turning into Brightview.
No way.
Everyone knows who they are. They're really huge. So
yeah.
That's kind of where I learned, the formalities of things, kind of some back-end things, safety things, just wearing, nice clothes and slacks and boots and safety gear and vests and things like that when you're cutting. And, it's never a bad time to be safe. So that's always a good, but then after that, I ended up breaking my hand and on a dirt bike and wasn't able to cut grass anymore. And it was getting ready to go into leaf season, and it was my right hand. So all the blowers have the trigger on the right side. And I had a cast on my hand, and I just really, it just didn't work like the way the cast was, I guess. So I ended up having to stop cutting grass for the time being and stop, working at the company I was working for. So I went and started working here at a local motorcycle sales place, a motorsports company, and I was a service advisor. So working there, I got a lot of sales experience and just experience talking to people and cold calls and just talking on the phone and angry customers coming in that weren't happy and learning how to deal with those kind of people. So
sure.
I think I give a lot of, credit to those guys for teaching me what I learned there. And yeah, after that, working there, I just kind of realized, this is definitely not for me. I hate being inside. I love the work. I love being around the motorcycles and people, but I had to get back outside. So I just got the boat closer to the dock, and the closer it got, I ended up taking the job and went full time for myself.
Nice. That's awesome, man. And that was what you said about 2 years ago now?
Yeah, 2018.
Wow, awesome. So when you had all this background working for all these big guys, was it easier for you to start your own business? Did you feel like you weren't as intimidated buying mowers and trailers and blowers because you kind of knew what you wanted? Or what was your experience working for a company going into a business of your own?
As far as actually being able to grab the right thing off the shelf and kind of knowing, what was going to work for me was really, it was really nice in that aspect for sure. But and just kind of teaching me, the ropes of how your quality and how a job should be done and things like that. Definitely, that definitely helped a lot. So, but other than that, the guys that are out here that do it just with no experience, I give them so much credit because it's, it's a lot to learn, what trimmer you want to use or what mowers are good, what, what's actually going to work. And
right.
I can only imagine people, go out and grab just something that's of, residential quality. And then they realize, this is not going to work, so I got to ramp it up and just, what we're probably going to get into is evolution of equipment.
Yeah,
that could definitely be a big bottleneck in it if you don't get the right thing, right off the bat. So.
Well, it's one of those things for sure, man, where I've a lot of how-to and like review style videos on YouTube. And I get that we've all, if you've been in business for 5 or 10 years, you're like, hey, I know that I'm just buying more of the same blower that is your favorite or more of your favorite trimmer, right. But I always try to remind those folks, I'm like, hey, there's a lot of people that come and go in the industry. And, for the thousands of new lawn care professionals per year, maybe tens of thousands, they're like, hey, should I go with a BR 800 or, the Echo 580 from Home Depot? And I field that question once a day. Like, what's the best backpack blower? And so for my own sanity, I make a lot of this content where I'm like, hey, dude, watch this video, or hey, we made a video on that, search this and this. And I kind of, I let that 10 or 12 minute video do the talking. But, and so I do like oogling about equipment, cause it's fun, it's exciting. And,
but therefore that's what, honestly, that's kind of how you got started on the YouTube, isn't it? Doing the reviews and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, frankly, yeah. I was living under a rock, I didn't know there's so many other brands out there.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like when I got started, I thought it was just X-Mark and Red Max, and all these young cats out there had like Steel and Skag and Hustler, and I'm like, we've never even seen. I didn't even know they existed. And
Encore.
Yeah, I didn't even know Encore existed.
Yeah, that was the very first walk behind I ever used. You had to like kind of shift it into gear with your knee, and no safety levers, and it was belt driven, and they would flip off all the time. Yeah, it was rough.
I had a little X-Mark Metro, like 33 or 36. Yeah, that mower was sketch because like you said, you had to knock the gear shift with your knee, and if you went from like first speed to like fourth speed because you like kicked it too hard with your kneecap, then dude, that thing would just get away from you. And then
or a branch hits it or just something. Yeah,
all that stuff, man. I and that used to be my gated backyard mower, so I always had to like finesse it like under play sets and play structures, and man, I'm surprised I didn't do more damage with those. Well, hey, let's do this. If you want to transition to and talking about your setup, why don't you give the lay of the land for these guys where what your equipment setup has looked like these last few years and what you got going on right now.
In April of 2017, I ended up buying a house. Me and my wife, was my fiance at the time. We lived in an apartment for 2 years. We decided we were going to get a house. We got a house, and then all of a sudden I was like, I have almost a third of an acre of grass I have to cut, and I don't know how I'm going to cut it. So I ended up borrowing a weed eater from a friend, and it was a steel weed eater, and I literally, from my commercial experience, I had to do this all the time, was like area trimming, like parking lot islands and stuff like that. So I was proficient in it, and I knew how to make it look good. I literally weed-eated my entire yard.
Holy crap.
Like a third of an acre. I would area trim it every week. and make it look pristine, and I would edge my driveway and edge the sidewalk, and I know my neighbors thought I was probably crazy. But from there, I ended up getting a Walmart push mower, just like a Murray, I think it was. And after I got that, my cousin asked me if I could cut his grass. Well, he just lives in a small subdivision style yard, so I actually went over there and I didn't even use my push mower. I ended up weed eating his whole yard, and I made it look better than any of his neighbor's yard. It looked good. It was edged. It was cleaned up. And then he was like, "Well, if you can come back next week, like, you're hired." And then I went and I was like, you know, this might be, you know, a cool gig. I might actually be able to, you know, pick up a couple more lawns. And so I went and got a planner and a little, like, a carbon copy invoice sheet thing just at the office section in Walmart. It was the first, you know, the only place I knew to go. So I was like rummaging through there trying to get everything for my business.
Yeah.
And so I ended up cutting his yard again the next week. And then I made a little Facebook post, and my dad was like, "Hey, my yard needs cut too." So I had 3 customers now. So I went from 3, and then my work, the motorsports place I was working at, they seen that I made that post, and they were like, "Well, you know, could you cut our grass?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of only have a push mower, you know, and a weed eater." And they're like, "Well, we really want to fire the guy that we have doing it. Let's, you know, see if we can work something out." And I was like, "All right, well, if I can work something out to get a bigger mower, can I cut the grass?" And they're like, "Yep." So I ended up thankful for my wife. She had good credit at the time, and I didn't. So I got a small loan, which helped a lot. Definitely leverage good debt if you can. If it makes sense, do it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Sure.
So yeah, then I ended up getting I had a Chevy Colorado, and I got a used Ferris walk behind 52-inch and a 5x10 trailer. I want to say it was just a small utility trailer that I bought used from a guy for $600. And I took that and I drove that thing all over town. I ended up getting the commercial accountant there where I worked. The lady there that was the accountant lady, she gave me a reference to another lady she knew. So I went from like nothing to like 6 customers right off the bat, and it just snowballed and went from there.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's really, really cool. Getting those first few customers, like I don't know, maybe I'm just, you know, kind of green, but I'm like so thankful for those few people because
oh yeah,
without them like believing in you and like giving you some of that first cash flow and kind of sparking that idea where that light bulb goes off in your brain, like I can make money doing this. Like,
yeah, I still cut that very first one that I said was, you know, my cousin's lawn. I still cut it to this day. So every time I'm there, I think about that. Like, this is like where it all started, just this one lawn.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's really, really cool. I can totally relate, by the way. But my guy, Rob, that works for me, I cut his Rob's mom's lawn. That was the route that I sold off 3 years ago. And I had like the whole day out there. It was like 22 customers. Anyway, when I sold it, I was like so heartbroken because like all those customers, like majority of them were like my first customers. And I'm like, It's not just about like profit versus not profitable or, you know, route density. I was like, dude, these are like my favorite people. Without these people, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, you know? And so
yeah, one of my first customers is this sweet little old lady. And just no matter how, I mean, I could become a millionaire and I would still go to this lady's house to see her and pick up out of her front yard.
Aww.
And I grabbed her lawn ornaments out of her shed and put them up for the winter, like the Christmas ones and stuff like that. And I don't charge her anything. It takes me, you know, 10 minutes while I'm there. So,
yeah.
And it just makes her the happiest old lady. So
yeah,
it makes me happy. So, but you know, small things and giving back definitely.
Dude, that's awesome.
Make a huge.
Yeah. Well, one thing I was going to ask you, where did you jump onto, you know, learning from guys on like YouTube and Instagram? Like you listened to the show and the podcast we were talking about before we hit record. Did you know all this was like on the internet, or did you just have like some random video promoted to you one day about mowing tall grass, or how did that work?
Well, I didn't have a clue that there was anything to do with lawn care on YouTube at all. That wouldn't have never crossed my mind. Like,
I know.
I always loved taking pictures of like my stripes and stuff like that when I cut grass at these other companies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd put it on Facebook or Instagram and stuff, but I never ventured that way on YouTube. But like I said, whenever I was going to get that loan and started to kind of actually break into, being a business owner, not just, doing it for fun,
mm-hmm.
which pretty early, but, that's kind of whenever I started looking on YouTube. And honestly, you were the very first person I found, you and Jason Creel. And,
nice.
man, my wife would come in and from work and she would just be like, oh, these guys again. And she would just, it would be on the TV in the living room. And I'm just watching YouTube. And yeah, I had, like I said, I broke my hand. So I really, wasn't able to work that much. So I just sat around. I really didn't do much.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's funny. So many people like got their business started from watching like Greg Chisholm with Geek the Freak, and Paul Jameson, I think, always talks about how he was in the radio show, in the twilight hours, doing like the third shift radio show, and he would just watch all these YouTube videos all night. That's awesome.
Yeah, that I was. I guess that was before my time, because like D&D and all the ones like the big ones that you guys always name and talk about, really, weren't a thing. Like CNI Services, Christian. He was like just starting up whenever I started like actually following people on YouTube, and like I actually got into watching it. So I guess whenever that was, if that gives you a time frame.
Yeah. Hey, while we're here, a question for you. What's the kind of content that you like watching or listening to the most, whether it's on the podcast? And I don't mean like per person, but I mean like do you like the how-tos, the business videos, the how to stripe videos, watching people mow grass? Like what's the intriguing part of YouTube or Instagram and social media for lawn care for you?
I don't really get into it too much for the aesthetic things, like the stripes and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I kind of do it myself, taking TikToks and all that cool stuff. But I definitely, my favorite thing is just like the business insides and the things that like you wouldn't know unless you had some kind of schooling or college or things like that. Like technically, to me, anybody can stripe a grass. You can teach them how to do it; they can do it. But when it comes down to tax strategies and even knowing the term like CPA or like things like, I learned that things from you. Like I didn't know these things before I started listening to your videos, and then ultimately listening to your podcast every day. And anytime that I could, anytime I'm out mowing, I hear these different terms, and I go back and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not doing that. I should probably start, either check it out or start working on those things.
Amen. I feel the same way when I listen to like Andy Frisella, and I listen to like a lot of Robert Kiyosaki and Tom Wheelwright and Jordan Peterson, and they're just like titans in business, and just smart people. And I'm like doopy-doo, and I'll be cutting grass and like taking notes on my phone. I'm like, look that up later, Google that later, and that's awesome. That's funny right there. Well, and by the way, quick little side note is like that those videos usually perform the worst in terms of like views on YouTube. I talk about like this. Yeah. I mean, mowing tall grass, 100,000 views, and I guess there's something fun and soothing and, oddly satisfying, right? Add that to your YouTube videos and you'll make money with YouTube, I guess. Right, guys? But at the same point, I like helping people and, hey, route density or 3 things to do before tax time, like all those different types of how-to videos. Those are honestly my favorite, even though they only get 4,000 or 5,000 views,
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm definitely guilty of that for sure. Like I started a TikTok recently. Of course, I had to jump on one of those little trends. And, I said for the longest time, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. Everyone's so addicted to it. And then I heard Paul Jameson talking about how he, was doing lawn care stuff on there, and I was like, "There's really lawn care stuff on there?" Like kind of the same thing. YouTube and I made one and I checked it out and I was like, there's actually quite a bit of people on here doing this. So I made some videos. My very first video got 3,000 views,
nice.
Like 100 likes. Like, okay, maybe I'm going to make another video, and then just kept going. And like every one of my videos has steadily gotten 3,000 to 4,000 views. So I mean, it's not major, cool to me, and I'll keep posting on there. But other than that, I definitely think the business aspect things are definitely more enjoyable and, fruit-filled content
Right.
Like you said, if you want to keep feeding your goose that's going to lay the golden egg, you got to feed it good things. And if you're feeding your brain just stripes, you might only know how to do stripes and not know how to do all the back end stuff. So.
That's awesome, man. I mean, it's crazy that, you know, you've been doing this for 6, 8, 10 years, but, you know, for in business for yourself for, you know, just under 3 years now and saying really good stuff. And that to me is most rewarding part of what we do with the podcast and the YouTube channel is, and not that like we're the guru, like I'm doing this thing with you guys. In some cases I'm a couple steps ahead, in a couple of cases I'm a couple steps behind some of you. But we're all learning together. And I just think that as Paul Jameson says, iron sharpeneth iron, that by putting out this fun, helpful content, even though it might not be the most entertaining, like we do run businesses and we got to, you know, make sure that they make money and they're profitable. And it's really cool to hear somebody just that's been in business for just a few years say and kind of repeat and parrot some of that stuff, because in a good way, because 10, 12 years ago, I wasn't focused on any of that. You know, frankly, I'm not sure what I was focused on with my business. So we were just probably going from backpack blower to backpack blower and, you know, and trying to lay stripes like you were saying, you know, so yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I want to talk a little bit about where you're at right now and then where you're going with the business. So I know you and I on our phone call, we're talking about your equipment setup and where the equipment evolution needs to go and where it needs to be. So where are you at right now with the business, and what's your setup look like? And then what are you trying to take it to in the next, 12, 18, 24 months?
Yeah. So after the last setup I just talked about getting, I ended up getting a brand new Ferris, another 52-inch walk behind, because it just kind of made the most sense for my business at the time, and it was just at the right price point. And then I run steel handheld equipment, so I had a steel BR600 backpack blower and the FS91R trimmers. Other than that, this year, like we had talked about in the last coaching call that we did and that podcast that you did, I'm ready to upgrade everything else. Since then, we talked, I think July is when we talked.
Was it that far back? Holy cow.
Yeah.
I keep saying like fall. Jeez, oh Pete.
Yeah, we were talking about doing, getting ready for leaf cleanups and things like that. And hoping to get a bigger truck. So since then, I only had the 1500 and the single axle utility trailer and my mower, and that was my mowing setup. And I would use it for brush jobs, and I would put mulch on my utility trailer. Well, since the coaching call, I purchased a Chevy 2500 HD, so I have a bigger truck to be able to pull a bigger trailer. And then I purchased a 7x12 dump trailer.
Nice.
So that's now my heavy hauling setup, to where if I need decorative rock, mulch. We just recently, last week, I sent you the picture that we did, put a leaf box on it, about 18 horsepower goat leaf vacuum. Just got that. So that whole setup is rocking and ready to go.
That's awesome, dude. Congratulations. I mean, you were, I can't believe I did that call back in July. I thought maybe I dropped the podcast episode in the fall. So maybe that's what I keep thinking, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and then this coming up spring, I know, we're pretty close, but like you had also mentioned, trailers don't really have the most reasonable interest rates. So I kind of depleted some of my money on that truck and the trailer, and then just some, funds going through the winter and a couple things that had happened. So we're kind of lower on cash now. So we're going to have to finance on the trailer, but we're going to get the trailer. We're going to get a 0-turn mower, and then hopefully I'm going to try to trade in these two trucks to get a newer truck. They're starting to get a little high on mileage and older in years. So I'd like to get something a little more reliable, something a little better looking, something that I could slap some signage on and know that, I'm going to keep it for a while. So this year's looking pretty promising, and hopefully, I think we're right on track with what we've been talking about in the coaching call and the evolution of where we should be headed.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, good for you. What mower are you eyeballing right now? Are you still looking at the Ferris, or was it Hustler? I forget.
Yeah, Hustler, the Super Z.
That's right.
60-inch. or I might get the 72. I just don't really know if I really need all that or not. So I think I might just still go with the 60.
Yeah, that hyperdrive that we test drove or demoed or test drove that we did the demo with, it was a fun mower. It cut great. It was super super fast and buttery smooth with those hydraulics. But I think that's the hyperdrive. So it's like 16 grand or something. It's a little expensive, but probably the last mower you need to buy for 5 years. You know.
Yeah, that is very true. They're very stout.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, good for you. What do you think right now is your biggest focus on with growing the business? The maintenance side of things, the landscaping side of things, and where do you plan to go through this season with how many customers you have now, and what are you trying to get to?
So we're trying to just kind of clean up our formalities, if that makes sense. I just kind of want to get logos on everything. I want our appearance to look good. I kind of want to brand everything. Just kind of get everything buttoned up. But as far as that, I think I want to try to focus more on the landscaping side. Maintenance, we kind of got it handled. Like I said, we have 50 full-time customers right now. Some other things in the works where we might be kind of taking on a big chunk of other customers. But the landscaping side definitely makes, more revenue. It's just not so steady, which is kind of all of that.
Sure. That's awesome. So you said you have 50 customers right now. Your third year in business.
Yep.
Wow, that's awesome. What's your best way of getting new customers? I get asked that all the time.
Oh, word of mouth and very good work.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Doing good work. Help me out for some of these new guys.
Just make sure you're doing quality work. Keep watching Brian's videos, and if you're not finding it there, all these other videos you can find on YouTube, TikTok, especially TikTok with the edging videos, like make crisp edges. Yeah. On the maintenance side, do stripes if you can. Don't go cutting through people's yard in the rain. Be diligent, and if it's going to rain, call them and let them know, and try to get there ahead of time if you can, or don't just push them back weeks at a time. Definitely communication with your customers is huge as far as keeping customers. So anybody can gain a customer. I think keeping the customer is really the hard part.
That's huge. That's a good one right there, man. You guys got some good nuggets. I like it. Well, let's kind of button this thing up, man. Open mic. Is there anything that, from the, time listening to the show or watching the videos on YouTube that is kind of, helped you out? Any pearls of wisdom or anything that you want to leave these guys while we got you on the show?
Yeah, definitely. I just want to start by saying thank you, for having me on and listen to what I had to say. But, with the pearls of wisdom, definitely just keep up with your YouTube channel, Instagrams, things like that. Keep up with the trends of what's going on. You yourself, Brian, you have, an immense amount of resources for these guys and gals alike, that can, I'm sure you're seeing people from the age of 10 to the age of 50 or, starting lawn care businesses, and anybody can pick up a phone nowadays and find that information. So, it's all in our fingertips right here. So just got to use it, put the information to good use.
I love it, man. Absolutely. So use the resources around you, whether it's the podcast or Instagram or the Tickety Talk, right? And funny story. I don't know if you heard. I think it was on a couple weeks ago show, I should say, with Paul Jameson, where he totally fanboyed out a TikToker. Did you happen to hear that one?
No, I didn't hear that one.
It was a show just a few weeks ago where Paul was just, it was at the very end, a little funny story where Paul had, he was at the gym, I think it was, and he's working on that summer bod, and it was funny because Paul finds out that this guy that's like also working out at the gym had like 700,000 followers or whatever on TikToks or fans or whatever they call it. And so Paul went over to him and was like, hey, like, you're on TikTok? I'm on TikTok. I also have a podcast. I also have a best-selling book, and like all this fun stuff, and just kind of was a weirdo, and we've all done it. And it was funny because during that interview at the end, Paul was like, yeah, you can't be going around to like professional clients and like athlete clients and, these high end customers that Paul takes care of and turn into a fanboy. Like you're going to get like friend zoned really quick versus
And asking them about their TikTok.
yeah. So Paul's asking the guy about the TikTok, and dang near inviting the guy to like go on his fall road tour, or Florida tour, and they kicked out. Yeah, they had just met each other, So anyway, but so I was just giving Paul crap because Paul loves the tickety talk. I always ask him, I'm like, are you a ticker or are you a talker? And I don't know, man. I'm just having fun. But
and we're just trying to get you on TikTok, so that's all it is. I low key put hashtag Lontrepreneur Academy on pretty much all of my TikTok, just so you know.
Hey, you're smart, man. If you guys understand like how the internet works and SEO and metadata, like and how the algorithms really work, like Stanley Dirt Monkey was telling me once that if you type in Stanley Dirt Monkey on YouTube, the first like 5 or 10 videos that come up are all about Stan, but on Keith Kalfas's channel.
Oh.
Yeah, because Keith like tags it in SEOs and all this other wizardry, and Keith's really good at that. So Stan's
yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying, like, so if you guys put Brian's Law Maintenance or YouTube, or Entrepreneur Academy, usually YouTube and the algorithm is pretty smart to know, like, when you're just kind of tag stuffing, they call it, and
yeah,
but it's not a bad thought, you know what I'm saying? It's not a bad tactic.
Yeah, you're doing it way. It works for sure. So that was another thing I would say. Definitely another, just a small pearl of wisdom is definitely, I don't know everything about or really much about SEO, but if you can learn, just what it does exactly, what hashtags are trending, what, to get views, obviously is going to help your Google channel.
Absolutely.
Like I'm a one-man show right now. I've been in business for 3 years. If you go to Google right now and type in lawn care Festus, I'm number one.
In your area?
50,
wow.
Yep, 50 5-star reviews. And I've been number one, and I bounce back and forth. There's a lot of lawn care companies in this area too. Like it is very, very washed out.
Sure.
But I am number one, and I've never paid for an ad through Google ever. And I very, very, very rarely boost posts on Facebook. Other than that,
sure,
it's all just natural leads and stuff.
There you go. That's awesome, man. Well, good for you. Well, that's one of those things too, where it's like, like you said, if you learn that stuff, it can pay big dividends. And, my Google, my business listing, same thing. We get, some good calls from there from time to time. And, we always appreciate, when those calls come in. I'm like, hey, how'd you hear about us? They're like, off of Google. I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus, like free resource. But, that's awesome, man. Well, hey, I just want to say thanks for taking time to be on the show. We're actually doing this late night, and we wanted to just get some extra podcast episodes out there. I want to get you guys on the show. So if you guys want to be on the show, shoot me a DM. We're going to vet, just so you guys know. I'm not just putting anybody on the show. It doesn't mean you got to be a coaching call customer or Entrepreneur Academy. That's not the prerequisite. But I do want to reciprocate with you guys out there and get some of you guys on the show. And you guys have great stories out there. Like, if you got a fun, startup story or, experience or business, evolution, and you want to share that, love to get you guys on the show. So shoot us an email, brianslawmaintenance2007@gmail.com, or, shoot me some Instagram DMs, and we'll do our best to get some more of you guys on the show through spring and summer here. But, well, Zach, that's kind of what I got for, my non-notes that I'm writing down on my phone right now. But, thanks for taking the time to be on the show and paying it forward and helping these guys out.
For sure. Thank you for having me on. I definitely appreciate it.
All right. Well, guys, thanks again for listening to this episode of Fullerton Unfiltered. We'll catch up with you guys here on the next one.
Ballard Innovative Products is a full line of gear for the lawn and landscape professional. From mower gear, safety gear, trailer racks, equipment securement, equipment servicing tools, aerators, mower blades, X-blades, aluminum baggers, and much more to make you efficient, effective, safe, and profitable in the field. Check out Ballard-Inc.com to help dominate and elevate your business. Ballard Innovative Products. With over 20 years of selling accessories and 30 years in the business, we're sure that we've got something you can't live without. We appreciate the support and look forward to serving you this season. Stay safe and keep grinding, friends. And don't forget to use Brian's 10 to save 10% at Ballard-Inc.com.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.